G'day Earthlings, Dr. Rank here, and welcome to Gaming Legends, the show that's hanging on the edge of tomorrow from the works of yesterday. Sonic Adventure 2 is the magnum opus of the Sega Dreamcast, achieving the perfect balance between gameplay variety and branching subplots. But with so many playable characters, some will obviously be better than others. Can you beat Sonic Adventure 2 with only Tails? No, of course not. There are 30 levels in the game and Tails is only playable in like 5. The rest of the game forces you to use everybody else and Knuckles. I know, Cedric. And that's why this challenge can only be done using... mods. I know. I hereby surrender my Challenge Runner integrity card. I'll be playing the Steam release of Sonic Adventure 2 Battle with exactly one mod enabled, Character Select by Main Memory. This mod allows you to play as any character in any stage simply by holding a certain button as it loads. If you want to try out this mod for yourself, I'll leave a link to it in the description. All other mods and cheats are completely banned. Our goal is to beat the game's story mode from a new save file while selecting Miles Tails Prower as our character for every single level. The video will be a two-parter, with this first part being focused on finishing the hero story. Part 2, which is currently in development, will focus on the dark story. I'll leave a link in the description once it's uploaded, but I do recommend watching this video first. Without further ado, let's escape from the city. Right off the bat, we can see that Tails can't use the skateboard at the start of City Escape. Thankfully, the board isn't actually required to traverse this section. There are a couple of item boxes that we can't quite reach, but we can lock onto them with the Tornado Walker's cannons and collect them that way. At the end of the skateboard section though, we hit our first roadblock. Literally. These dash panels lead over the fence into the level proper, but Tails just gets stuck on them. There's an invisible wall that only someone of Sonic's height can pass under, effectively soft-locking us on the dash panels. And since this is literally the first level, we don't have access to any upgrade items that could help us. So if we can't beat this level as Tails, I guess we'll have to try it with Tails. Holding the right trigger as the stage loads chooses Tails and the Tornado Walker as the playable character. But if we hold the Y button instead, we choose Vanilla Tails. Not only is he able to get into the level proper, he can also hover right out of the box. This hover can't gain altitude like in other games, but it can at least maintain it and even defeat enemies. However, this version of Tails is normally only playable in the Chow Garden, and consequently suffers from a few megabugs. He can't ride on grind rails or pulleys, grabbing poles crashes the game, and collecting animals gives you extra lives. And while he does possess a spin attack, it's only capable of destroying enemies. This becomes a problem pretty quickly as the path is blocked by a couple of crates that Vanilla Tails can't break. But he can still pick objects up and throw them, one such object being Omochow. By abusing this annoying advisor, we can easily get past these crates. At the end of the level though, we run into another problem. This gate leads to the gun truck chase, but only a speed character can squeeze under it. Looks like it's time for some shenanigans. At the second set of hills after the first checkpoint is a ramp leading to a thunder shield. If you hover over it and get enough height, you can fly through the buildings on the left to get out of bounds. Once you do, keep hovering along the path while keeping the level geometry in view. Eventually, you'll fly all the way down to the road at the end of the gun truck chase without even spawning the gun truck. And that, Earthlings, is the first level of Hero Story completed as Tails. For the boss fight against Bigfoot, we switch back to the tornado and spam the fire button in mid-air. The poor guy won't even get the chance to fight back. Then we come to our first Knuckles stage, Wild Canyon. The goal of these stages is to find 3 Master Emerald shards which are placed in random locations throughout the level. The tornado can't do much here, but Vanilla Tails can ride the updraft in the center all the way up. If an emerald shard does spawn somewhere inaccessible, such as in one of these chests, we can just intentionally lose a life to respawn it elsewhere while retaining the shards we already have. Though I should warn you that falling down here will result in a soft lock since there's no way back up and nothing that can kill us. We can, of course, manually restart from the pause menu, but this will reset all of the shards. The Dr. Eggman fight and Prison Lane are normally done with Tails anyway, but just for fun I decided to try the former with Vanilla Tails, and I ended up fighting Vanilla Eggman with some serious back troubles, and the game crashed when I tried to attack him. I guess Eggman really hates the taste of vanilla. Metal Harbor is nice and open with almost no walls, letting you hover past basically everything. I especially recommend reaching the missile from out of bounds, preventing the countdown from triggering. We can't grab the handle of the missile, but we can use the spring and start hovering at the peak of the bounce to reach the air duct. From there, we can finish the level as intended. This would normally be the part where we fight Shadow the Hedgehog as Sonic the Hedgehog, but the mod we're using has a weird side effect. Since we're playing as Tails, our opponent always chooses Eggman while trying unsuccessfully to replicate Shadow's attack pattern. Green Forest won't even let us start with the tornado, so we've got to use vanilla flavoring. This stage is absolutely littered with vines to swing from, but Tails just crashes the game if he tries. You'll need to hover through the entire forest almost blindly, making sure not to touch any unnecessary springs. And you'll need to make liberal use of checkpoints along the way so the timer doesn't run out on you. The final stretch has invisible walls on the side, but you can still get in from the usual direction. With Green Forest in dire need of a name change, we arrive at Pumpkin Hill. The tornado can't get off the starting platform, crashing the game if he tries to use a rocket. Vanilla Tails can still use them and is able to get literally anywhere in the stage. The only place he can't reach is this set of islands in the distance, but that's not much of a detriment to us. However, this level is where you get the Shovel Claw upgrade, allowing Knuckles to dig for items. To ensure that you can't proceed without it, the game will always spawn at least one Emerald Shard underground if you haven't collected the Shovel Claw. Once you get the upgrade, the game is supposed to allow all shards to spawn above ground, but for some reason it just didn't for me. I must have reset the stage literally 1,000 times, and Shard 3 spawned underground every single time. I even tried using a Sonic Adventure 1 radar mod for testing, and sure enough, it was always buried without fail. I did eventually figure out the problem though. I'm an idiot. The game doesn't check that the Shovel Claw has been collected, it checks that your character has it. The game autosaves the Shovel Claw for Knuckles immediately, but only temporarily saves it for everyone else. That temporary save is erased if you exit the level, but the Shovel Claw can't be collected again because Knuckles stole it. And when I originally grabbed the claw, I did so with the tornado, effectively soft-locking our entire save file. After replaying the entire game, I grabbed the claw with Vanilla Tails, and finally got the last shard orbiting Pumpkin Mountain. Mission Street is a normal Tails level, but it's notable for containing the first Tails upgrade, the Booster, which lets us hover with the tornado. This makes Aquatic Mine easily accessible with both Tailses, though neither can reach the top floor or backtrack from the Ghost Room. It only took me a handful of resets to get accessible shards here. After 2 Tails levels in a row, we get to Pyramid Cave. The main gimmick with this stage is these hourglass switches that open doors temporarily. Most of these doors can be bypassed using out-of-bounds hovering shenanigans, but I did get stuck on this one for a while. After a few failed attempts, I eventually got a run where I just barely squeezed under the door as it closed. From there, the stage is a cakewalk. Then there's Death Chamber. Every path from the starting area is blocked off by iron crates. Normally you'd grab Knuckles' hammer gloves to break them, but that would require Knuckles. The equivalent upgrade for Tails isn't available yet, and even Omochao can't make a dent. The only keys we can collect are ones that spawn in this room and the central hallway, which is just barely possible to do. Just make sure you grab them in reverse order to make the ones you want more likely to appear. King Boom Boo was by far the most troublesome boss in the run. First off, you need to hit the mini-ghost holding the hourglass to open the skylight. You could try using a lock-on shot, but doing so results in a crash. You'll have to use either a regular bullet or the propeller punch to hit it safely. The next step is normally to dig up King Boom Boo's shadow, but he's not actually underground, he just has a really short hitbox. Bullets and Vanilla Tail's spin can't hurt him in this state, but it is just barely possible to get a propeller punch in. Don't ask me how, I can't even do it consistently. Unfortunately, I've never been able to hit the shadow in Phase 2 since he climbs onto the wall. But by spamming bullets in Phase 1, I was able to damage him thrice in one cycle, leaving just a slightly harder final phase. One more propeller punch and bullet later, Boom Boo was dethroned. Immediately after is the Egg Golem. The Dark Story normally has you fight him as Eggman, who is very similar to Tails, but we're doing Sonic's version of the fight. The only way to damage him is to hit the restraining bolt on his head, but the tornado can't lock onto it. I tried climbing up his back to just shoot it normally, but couldn't quite reach it. I guess we'll have to add some vanilla flavoring to this fight. It's still not going to be an easy battle. Falling off the platform is a softlock sentence since Vanilla Tails is immune to quicksand. But we can still hit the restraining bolt with a spin attack and take the golem down. Eternal Engine is the last proper Tails stage, and it's also where we get the bazooka upgrade. Iron crates are no longer bulletproof. While we're at it, we may as well go back to get the Laser Blaster and Mystic Melody from Prison Lane and Hidden Base respectively. We don't technically need them, but it couldn't hurt. Welcome to the final Knuckles stage, Meteor Herd. Normally this stage has low gravity, but for some reason Vanilla Tails isn't affected by it. Which is a problem when most of your movement has to be vertical. The highest point I could reach with him was just barely below the central platform. I was able to get up there with the tornado, but the spring doesn't send it high enough to reach the rocket we can't use. While there are some emerald shards that can spawn at ground level, they only occupy the first two slots on our radar. The only time Shard 3 spawns down here is when it's buried. Our only hope of clearing this level as Vanilla Tails is to somehow get him onto this platform. One idea I had was to get a damage boost from the meteors to push me upwards. The problem is, the meteors fall seemingly at random and never in the exact spot you're occupying. The one time I did get hit, I was facing the wrong way and fell all the way back down. I sought help from speedrunners and they recommended a new strategy, the Red Tornado Walker. This skin is normally unlocked by clearing all Tails missions, but can be selected manually with the Character Select mod by holding the right trigger and A simultaneously. The Red Tornado is faster than the normal Tornado, but it doesn't jump any higher. However, if we run into the scoop of a bulldozer at full speed and start holding A at just the right time, we can start hovering diagonally, effectively giving us infinite height. Once I managed this, I was able to get all 3 shards in a single life and take down Rouge's Eggman cosplay in 12 seconds. Then, literally the day after I beat this level, speedrunner Axel Thunder posted this on Discord.
Years of academy training wasted!
Next is Crazy Gadget, which has a gravity redirection mechanic that we are unable to partake in. Vanilla Tails can hover over this large pit no problem, but his path is then blocked by a pulley he can't use. I tried bringing both Tornado Walkers over, but neither could clear that same pit. Even if we found a way up there, which I only did with an infinite jump cheat, neither Tails can break the glass to travel through the tube to the next section. It might be possible to hover all the way to the final gravity cube from out of bounds, but all the accessible corridors have solid walls and ceilings everywhere. The only known place where you can get out of bounds is from the ceiling of the starting area, which, again, I was only able to reach by literally cheating. Even the speedrun community hasn't found a way to do this one. I'm sorry to say it, but until a new discovery is made, the Tails Adventure 2 Hero Story run has officially failed. But out of curiosity, I did try the rest of the campaign on my pre-completed save file. All that remains are the boss fights against Eggman and Shadow, which are pushovers, and Final Rush. Though the game tries to force you upwards several times, it's still a mostly downward open stage. There are invisible kill planes everywhere, but as long as you roughly follow the stage, you should be able to avoid them all. Just make sure you clip into the chase section at the end, or you might not hit the goal properly. So of all the levels in the hero story, only one is impossible to do as Tails. Honestly, a low number if you ask me. If you want to watch the run, I've uploaded a full demonstration of the run up until Crazy Gadget on my archive channel. And be sure to subscribe so you don't miss part 2 where we take on the Dark Story. That's all for now, and I will see you down under.